What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Video Nasties. Joined as usual by Retro Horror. If you guys are watching over on his channel, again, I'm Dan from Reject Films, and today we are doing Axe along with Kidnap Coed. I did not watch Bloody Brothers, so I can't comment on that one. But we're going to do those two. So we'll talk about Axe first and move on from there. So hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying the show that we are doing for you guys, and I appreciate the support. So with that being said, as usual, I will have Retro go through what little synopsis there is of Axe.
Yeah, Axe is a 1974 regional independent film directed by a guy named Frederick Friedel. And it basically is about some small time crooks that go on a rampage, just torturing people, kind of analogous to Last House on the Left, a little bit. And then they run into a farmhouse. They decide they're going to hide in this farmhouse, and they run into this girl who lives with her paralyzed grandfather. And that's when things take kind of a bloody turn, a very slasheristic kind of turn. I don't want to say any more of that, just so I don't want to spoil it for you, but that's it's called California. It's also called, alternate titles, California Axe Massacre, I believe.
I think it's Lisa, right?
And Lisa. Yeah, it's got multiple titles. Yeah, it's a very hypnotic film. And I guess the best analogy I could give for this would be Frederick Friedel's style is very much kind of like an Americanized Jean Rollin, if you've seen any of those films. It's hypnotic. It's almost kind of, I'm not going to say it's dull and monotonous and boring, but it's kind of got an eerie feel, like it's unsettling in a way. And the music doesn't help. I think the music, the music is not great. I mean, they wrote it like in 8 hours in one day, apparently. But I think to give the setting and the mood for the film, the music works to that extent. It's a very hypnotic film, in my opinion. It's not a great film. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say this is some art masterpiece, because it's not. And it's really not particularly gory, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't know really why it got up on the Video Nasties, other than maybe the title and that there's a rape scene in here that's not particularly pleasant to watch. But other than that, it's not particularly gory.
No. I mean, there's a scene of somebody getting cut up, but you don't really see like the actions of it.
There's a lot of cutaways that tasteful cutaways, I would say. But the way Frederick Friedel shot this, and I think really at the end of the day, I got to give credit to the cinematographer, a guy named Arthur McKinnon, I believe.
Yeah, I think they called him Artie or something.
Yeah, because he went on to do visuals for Terminator and for what was the other one he did? He's done Escape from New York. Yeah. I mean, the feel of the film, the look of the film, I really attribute that more to the cinematographer than particularly Frederick Friedel. But it's an interesting film to look at. It's just, there's not a whole lot of plot. I mean, it's very much like a criminals on the loose, just kind of terrorizing people in the first 30 minutes, and then they get to the farmhouse and things take a sharp left turn. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was.
And from watching the features, I forget, what was that interview with? Can't remember who it was with.
Well, you've got an hour documentary on the making of the thing.
Right, which is longer than the movie.
Yeah, and then you've got Stephen Thrower, right, talking about
a little 9-minute deal.
Yeah,
During the one interview on here, like nothing was supposed to mean anything more than what it was. Like it wasn't supposed to be like this backstory on anybody. There wasn't supposed to be anything deeper than what you saw.
Yeah, films like this really interest me because, um, well, first off, you and I watch a lot. You and I probably watch a lot of movies, and I watch a lot of bad movies.
Oh yeah.
I watch a lot of dull movies. And then you watch something like this that on the surface is fucking dull. I mean, it is, but there's an element to it, whether it's the music in concert with the direction, the cinematography, and the acting. There's some kind of pixie dust that separates this from Annie Milligan, for example. Some painfully dull bullshit. A lot of people will watch this and say, "Well, that's painfully dull bullshit," but I think it has a little. I think it has kind of a Joan Roland kind of aesthetic to it that separates it. And I don't, it's very much like Texas Chainsaw that Massacre in a way that you've got films that kind of come together. There's just a it just comes together and works for that one moment in time.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's only 67 minutes, so it's not like you're wasting a lot of time or
no, you're
I
not.
didn't find it that boring. I mean, you're just kind of thrown into it there at the beginning. You don't know who these guys are. You don't know what's going on, and it just kind of goes from there to another scene, and you don't really
Yeah.
ever get a full, you know, telling of who they are, where they came from, or anything like that. They're just there, and
Yeah, and that the lack of backstory, it just kind of throws you as the viewer into their situation without any backstory. You're just kind of watching these events transpire in a kind of a matter of fact way. It is unsettling the way they did it. I mean, and it works, but again, there's a lot of films I can think back on that are done the same way that just fall flat on their face, don't work. It's hard to explain the magic that comes about that gets you to this point. But I thought it's a good film. It's not a masterpiece, but
Did you notice? Did you notice the one thing that happened too? And I didn't catch this till the features, and they were talking about the locations and using that hotel and everything. Um, and back then you're supposed to have somebody operate the elevator for you, but they were doing it themselves. And if you notice on the elevator, it only goes up to floor 10.
yeah,
Say he jumped out the 12th floor.
yeah.
Catch like that.
They shot that in a hotel that they've torn down now in Charlotte,
Right.
North Carolina. I used to live just outside of Charlotte. Actually, I went to Wake Forest University, which is just up the road from Charlotte. So I'm
I've
very
been to Charlotte, but I worked out there for a little while.
yeah.
Really nice now, but back then they were saying, it was a really rough area. But
Yeah, exactly. Um, but both the films we're talking about today were shot in North Carolina.
right. And one last thing I'll say about this too, and I right off the bat, I'm going to say anybody that doesn't have this, I suggest picking this up. I mean, you get two films and one film that's a combination of both, pretty much, and it's worth definitely having in the collection. Um, Something I noticed about this was I feel like Tarantino was inspired by films like this, like the way the criminals are, and just certain things about both of these movies. Really, some of the dialogue and the kidnap Coed. I think if you're a fan of Tarantino stuff too, that you're gonna like this.
I think so. I mean, this has some good acting. Jack Cannon is one of the. He's in both films. He's a small time crook. I thought he was great.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah, he really is. He
Yeah,
saved both these movies from.
he's got that. He's got that look. He's got
Mhm.
that look that works. And then Leslie Lee, I think, was in the first film. She was good as well. You combine that with good cinematography, and you don't really need much of a story. I mean, I think it works.
I, I
It's
don't
got.
think she went on to do much else. Was she the one that they said that they couldn't really, they didn't really know where she was now, or
Well, yeah, she went on to become a dive instructor and
she
moved.
was beautiful though. She
Yeah,
really was.
yeah, yeah. She was. She didn't do anything after this. I don't think. I think she left the business.
She had that really good kind of blank stare where
Yeah,
something's not right with her kind of look. You're never told exactly what her deal is, if she knows when she's even doing this stuff. Like, I think she transcended into another place in her mind when she was doing these acts. Acts AC, not AX, but
Yeah, she's hypnotic as well. I mean, I think the way she portrayed it gives off that hypnotic element to the film. Yeah, I give it a 6 out of 10. I think it's a good film.
yeah, I'm probably about right there with you if I had to rate it. I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. But I like the criminals. That's why I was saying that Tarantino thing, the way they kind of like fuck with people, you know, and
Yeah,
do
yeah.
like off the wall things while they're doing other things, you know, like kind of
Well,
like the beginning of Dusk Till Dawn, how they kind of like mess with people, you know.
yeah, exactly. I guess the spoiler alert. What Dan's talking about is the scene in particular that supposedly got this film on the nasty list is that scene where in the supermarket or the grocery store, whatever that was, well, where the girls, like, they're doing target practice on her head. They put an apple on her head and they're doing target practice, shit like that. I mean, that's kind of the havoc these guys are wreaking before they show up at the farmhouse.
Just kind of embarrassing people, kind of making them feel degraded.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons it was put on the list. That's pretty tame by.
I know, and they cut away. It's all done and
Right.
cut. It's not like you don't see her getting blown a bit like on Scanners. I mean, but that's apparently the scene not even the rape scene, that the scene with the apple and then pouring Coke on her and taking pot shots at her. That's it.
Huh. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I think that's about it for that one. I mean, pretty decent movie. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of the music. That drum beat was just kind of out there and didn't really fit to me. But those guys ended up passing away shortly after all this too.
I figured, knowing you probably took the compact disc that's in here and like loaded it.
Oh yeah. I've been. It's actually not even in here right now. It's in my truck, man.
You listen to it on the way to work every day. Yeah.
Took out the Rob Zombie album and put this in.
Those two guys, I guess my take on it is they were kind of wannabe Miles Davis. They were like jazz fusions, early 70s jazz fusion type deal. It is what it is. I'm not sure they're the most talented people in the world, but I feel bad they died in like a tragic car wreck or something.
Right. Yeah. And these are basically the only movies that this guy ever directed, and I couldn't really tell from watching the features and everything why he stopped. I guess it was too much work, and I know he lost his negatives for a long time and all that, and they were trying to find him. And
well, I think you're right. I think Harry Novak, the sexploitation distributor, managed to get his hands on these two films and basically stole them out from under him, and I think that left a bad taste in his mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if everything would have went smoother with that, he would have directed a lot more movies. But I mean, he's still alive and he's still able enough to do some things, if he really wants to. But
I saw he did something in 2007 called "My Next Funeral," or it's like a
it was like a random release of something out there, but
yeah.
All right, well, move on to Kidnap Coed here. Kind of a love story here.
Yeah, so Kidnap Coed, I think, comes along 2 years later. And this time we've got it starring a girl named Leslie Lee, who looks a hell of a lot like the other girl, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought it was the same person when I first saw it.
Oh, no, she's not nearly as attractive. Her mouth's a lot different. And yeah, but anyway,
she. It's also known as, of course, as Kidnap Coed, as Harry Novak's title sexploitation title he threw on this.
Yeah, Kidnap Lover or something at the beginning.
It was Date with a Kidnapper, I think was the original title, maybe. This film brings back Jack Cannon, as a small time criminal, and he finds this young woman that he at a boarding house, and he decides that he comes across. He thinks she's rich, so he's going to try to hold her for ransom, and in doing so, he's got all these other people now that get wind of it that are trying to like take the girl from him so they can get the ransom. And so it becomes kind of it kind of reverses itself. You know, you got the kidnapper that becomes the protector. He starts having to protect this girl. Actually, I guess it's really kind of a love story. He falls in love with this girl. Yeah, and over the course of the film, he's having to protect her from all these other crooks trying to kidnap her.
And the one thing these two movies have in common, spoilers, both of them have a guy getting killed while attempting rape and dying during the act. So
yeah, I thought the rape in this film was a lot more vicious, and the violence in this one's a lot, kind of in a way, is worse than the first than Acts. And I think it's a lot more because it's a lot more polished than the first film. It's obvious that Friedel had learned from his first film, and I thought he did an even better job with this one. This one, I think, is a lot more polished than Acts.
Mm-hmm. Has a lot more story to it, a lot more depth, a lot more character development.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Another spoiler alert. Did you? I love the end, near the end with the farmer that you realize how big that farmer was? He was like 7 foot tall.
Yeah. Big old Santa Claus there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only part that really got annoying, though, when you kept saying the same line over and over. Like, he kept asking him if he was crazy or something. He just kept saying it over and over and over. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I love that. So they're circling each other with the big guy's got the pitchfork and they're like doing this circular dance. Again, this is another one with the cinematography really showcases the film. I mean, it's well done. I
understand why she got mad at that point, though. It's like, what did you want him to do?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have a choice. Yeah. So you had like the hotel guys, you never know what they were really there for. I guess they were trying to rob the place or something. You see a glimpse of a body in the back. So, it wasn't the real people that worked at the hotel right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then, they find out, like you said, they wanted to try to take over the ransom money or whatever, and kidnap her themselves. And you just have all kinds of stuff getting in the way of this happening. You have the random scene where they're trying to get some water for their car and the guy comes out with a shotgun like, what? What is this?
Yeah. Yeah. Now Jack Cannon pretty much is the showcase for this film. He carries the film. I'm surprised he didn't go on to do greater things. He's obviously got a natural talent for acting.
They talked about he was supposed to go on to some really popular TV show or something and then ended up not getting the call, and it kind of put him into a bad place.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now, the Leslie in this film goes on to do a lot of stuff. She did a lot of TV work. I think she's working right up to the mid 2000s. So right. She's been very busy.
Yep. But yeah, definitely the better of the two films. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. Like, you never knew what was going to happen next, even right up to the end. Whose caddy is that? Like, oh, come on.
Right. Of course, now this release has a third film, Bloody Brothers, which is a compilation of the first two films. Supposedly, Novak got the rights to these films. I guess he bought them from. The story that I heard was that Harry Novak, Frederick Friedel ran out of money to do these, and so he went to the wrong. He basically went to Satan himself and sold what's left of the rights of the films. In order to finish the film, he got money from Harry Novak, and that's how he lost the rights to these acts and kidnapped Coeds. But apparently, I guess maybe it was after Harry Novak died. Harry Novak went bankrupt and moved these titles to another entity just before he went bankrupt. So he was a slick dude. But apparently, after he died, in fact, in the documentary in here, they show Friedel going to an abandoned warehouse where Novak kept all his films, and they found the 35 millimeter negatives to these two films, and I guess he cobbled together a new cut so that he could have the ownership rights. I think that's how the third film, Bloody Brothers, came to be. Was that he, in order to get the rights to have the rights to the films, he had to cut a new version.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that little building too, like all those movies in there and all those canisters, even outside the building. Like, I wonder what's in those. Just
I know. I mean, it's yeah. Harry Novak was an interesting character. He was slick.
I'm sure while the guy from Severn was there, he probably snatched up a couple other films from there too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. Because
Vinegar Syndrome, or someone needs to get on there and get those negatives to these lost movies, man. Yeah.
yeah, I like hearing about the business side of this stuff almost as much as the film itself. It's these distributors and sub distributors, when they get these films, they're supposed to share the revenue, I guess, with the originator or the maker of the film, unless I guess it's in the contract not to do that. But even when I've seen films, even when it's contracted that they get some percentage of the revenues, the distributor, you're at the mercy of the distributor to be honest about that stuff, or you end up having to sue them. And so uh, it's an interesting business. I'm not sure I'd want to be in it, but it's an interesting bit because it's really you're having to put your faith and trust in this distributor that you sold the rights to be honorable and pay you. You know.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot more shadier shit going on back in like the 70s and 80s and things
Oh,
like that. A lot of people were making handshake deals and just
oh yeah,
real scumbags in the industry. I mean, you still have your scumbags nowadays, but at least it's in print. you know, um, yeah, I just people just would do anything to make money, man. And I mean, like I said, they still do, but they will just screw over their mother to for a
yeah,
paycheck.
that's right. Well, Texas Chainsaw is a great example of that. I mean, Hooper went with the mafia in New York to make the movie, to get the funds to make the movie. And of course, he never saw a cent ever of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And
So
there's your all time leading movie, Night of the Living Dead, never getting copyrighted, things
yeah,
like that. So yeah,
yeah.
little
I
things
think
you need to do.
I would have to say Kidnap Coeds is the more polished and more
Yeah.
interesting film, but I would give that a 7 out of 10. Axe is a 6 out of 10. But yeah, two good films, two interesting films.
Yep. And if you watch them back to back, like I'm sure you did too, and I did as well, then you're familiar with the character already, and it's kind of carried over from the same character. I think a little bit. He was definitely a lot more of an asshole and an axe than playing kind of the hero and kidnapped. But
Right. Yeah. He definitely took up a kind of a 180-degree turn in the second film.
well, yeah, again, try to keep these under a half an hour for you guys so we don't bore you too much. I think we both recommend adding this to the collection if you guys are obviously if you're here, you're horror fans, and they're just pretty decent movies overall. I mean,
I agree. I agree. What do we got? Like, are we going to do next?
I hadn't even thought about it yet. Oh man, what do we got here?
I think we got to go section 2 now.
Was this section 1? Yeah, it was. All right, back to section 2. Oh man.
And if you're getting bored, we can throw section 3 on there.
Why don't we do? Man, I don't even know. Uh, ah,
I know you're going to pick something like Nazi exploitation. I know. I can feel it.
I think you just want me to.
Uh,
Well, let's go with an original that has a remake. How's that?
all right.
Let's go with Toolbox Murders.
I like it. Good choice. Good choice. It's been about 6 years since I've seen Toolbox Murders.
And I have not seen it. I don't remember what. I think I had the '88 release of that.
Really? You haven't seen Toolbox, so you're going to be. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at that one.
I hear the remake's not as good. Then you have the part 2 of the remake as well with Sherry Moon in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Toolbox Murders is an infamous, famous film. I remember when it came out in the late 70s. I can remember the uproar. As a kid, I remember the uproar about that film and Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Now that one I can understand. I mean,
you would have just thought the sky was falling.
Silent Night, Deadly Night I can see mainly because of the Santa Claus aspect, and
oh yeah.
But so is it up there with that as far as the kills and stuff, or?
It's got. I think it has some iconic kills in it. Yeah, of course, the most famous one we'll talk about, but yeah, I think it's got some iconic kills. It's an interesting film. I think you'll like it.
Cool. I'm still talking a little weird with my S's and stuff for my dental work. So, all right. Well, I think that's about it, guys. So,
all right.
Join us next time. And again, I hope you guys are enjoying the series. And if Retro's down for something else, maybe we'll start another series as well.
Yep. Sounds good.
We'll see how it goes.
All right. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.
Later, guys.